Hey folks, on today's episode, we welcome Chef Lance Roll, the king of bone broth.
Basically accept all paths at this point. You know, the big message is to believe in yourself. They asked me the other day in a podcast, what's one of the most important lessons you can teach? And I said, I think, what my mom taught me is be true to yourself, man. Follow your passion. Don't deny yourself who you are. That's religion in itself right there.
That's coming up. So we got a great show coming up. We got kind of deep in this episode. We started out talking about bone broth and ended up talking about the Grateful Dead and spirituality. Chef Lance is just a really positive, very high energy person, very passionate about what he does. And I like to think that some of those positive vibes, somehow make it into all that amazing broth that he makes. You can find Chef Lance at bonebroth.com. I believe they ship broth all over the country. I've had it. It's delicious. It's healing. It saves you from the time and trouble it takes to make broth at home, right? It's just, it's not the easiest thing to do sometimes. You need to find good bones. They have to be grass-fed. They have to be organic. You need a variety of bones. You need knuckle. You know what I'm saying? It's a project. It doesn't have to be because Chef Lance has made it easy. You can just go to bonebroth.com to order. Actually, what you should do is go to rebelhealthtribe.com and join as a premium member. Then you'll get access to our discount club, and then you'll be able to save even more money at bonebroth.com. Now, that's a plan. Do that. So pretty simple, right? Our premium membership includes our discount club with over 30 companies featuring hundreds of products. You also get access to our premium content, including over 50 interviews and webinar replays, the Primal 90 Mind-Body Transformation System, meal plans, and every new series we ever produce, and much, much more. And right now, you can try it out for free for 30 days. Just go to rebelhealthtribe.com/join and use the code REBELPOD when you check out. That's rebelhealthtribe.com/join. Okay, on with the show. Like I said, Chef Lance is just one of those guys that when you talk to him, you can't help but be in a really good mood after. So enjoy that. Here's Mike and I with Chef Lance Roll. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Rebel Health Tribe podcast. I'm Joe Regola with Michael Roseline. Hey Michael, what's happening?
Hey Joe, I am doing great.
Cool. I am enjoying some mushroom coffee from one of our discount club members.
Yeah, Four Sigma. How is that? Mira liked it.
It's good, man. It's really good. I definitely noticed a little boost in brain function, which is good for me since my brain function is usually, questionable.
So world domination time, right? You're going to turn into like Lex Luthor?
That's the plan. I'm going to see if I could down 6 or 7 cups of these a day and take a look. That's kind of the plan. But yeah, cool. Four Sigma is one of our discount club members. For those of you in our premium members on Rebel Health Tribe, you can find that there. And our guest today, Chef Lance Roll, is part of our discount club membership also.
Hey, Chef.
Hey guys, how you doing? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Always a lot of fun talking to you. This is going to be a good show. You've got the brothery.com as well as bonebroth.com. Is that right?
Correct. The brothery, the bonebroth.com. The brothery.com is the site forwarding to bonebroth.com. Mm-hmm. And the concept, when you get into our site, we took out the trademark, the brothery, in 2012, and that was just to launch in a little bit background. That was just a concept from an article called "Broth is Beautiful" by Sally Fallon way back in 2001, 2002, when the Weston A. Price Foundation got started. And interestingly enough, today we have this big bone broth trend happening, and everyone jumping in. So she suggested that there should be a brothel in every town, which there probably already is, but not necessarily a brothery in every town. So we took the brothery.com, we trademarked it in the hopes that when we did go live in January of 2013 with our e-commerce site, thebrothery.com, people went to the brothery to get their broth, and that's been happening ever since. So when you get to bonebroth.com, you go to bonebroth to buy the broth, but you go into the brothery to actually get the broth. So awesome. But you started out obviously as a trained chef, by trade, but somewhere along the way you realized that broth is good food, as you say. Broth is good for you.
What was that sort of made you transition to, from a traditional chef to concentrating on broth?
Well, that leads into just the whole kind of historical stuff, just to give the audience a little background. I've been cooking for professionally since 1988 for 28 years.
Wow.
And lots of high-end restaurants the first 7 years, some 3-star New York Times restaurants, some restaurants out here in California that were Mille Fleurs in Rancho Santa Fe that was rated top 25 restaurants in the country in 91 when I was there. And I wasn't the chef, but I was under the chef who is still there, which is a good testimony to his ability. And, of course, I was classically trained, like you said, in the art of European cookery, the traditional classical chef training. I didn't go to school. I learned on the line. I learned in kitchens. I learned from chefs. Let's just kind of fast forward through the whole thing to about 2005. 2004, I was in a culinary school teaching as a professional, got certified as an executive chef, and when 2006 rolled along, I was going through a lot of personal transition, and through that transition, I met Paul Chek, who I know everyone is familiar with.
Yep.
And as a lot of people do end up saying, they say, they kind of tell their life story, and then they said life sort of began when I met Paul Chek, and he really changed my life, and the whole Chek system, and people can look into that. I'm sure you guys have some stuff with him going on as well. But anyway, suffice it to say, he introduced me to the Weston A. Price Foundation. He introduced me to Sally Fallon, to the idea of whole foods cooking, as well as the idea of organic food, and the whole disruption of our food system, the infiltration of processed foods and big pharma and big agra and all the stuff that is basically that we stand for now, that we're going out and telling people about, which is this whole foods, natural healing type of things. The mode that we're into, and you're drinking a coffee that's infused with mushrooms because it's going to give you brain function, and there's a whole many different movements within our movement that are happening, and broth is one of them. Broth's been a revival. So in 2007, through the transformation I was going through, I was open to what was happening, inspiration. I call it a download from God, but on 11/11, which is a significant number for me, it's my numbers, 2007, I received a download from God in the parking lot at Cardiff Market here in San Diego to bring broth to the market of all things. And in 2008, I took out this lovely little trademark here, says broth is good for you, promotes a healthier you. And that was a result of all the reading I was doing through the very few articles around about bone broth at that point, some stuff from the Townsend newsletter and things from the Jade Institute, and of course the Sally Fallon and the Weston A. Prices and the Price Pottingers of our world that were already knew about bone broth and the cultural around the globe with bone broth. So I just started researching it. I had so much inspiration, and I knew, of course, that I was making bone broth every day, cooking for my clients, and again, jumped right into it, followed my passion, followed this vision. I took out bonebroth.com, which in today's world right now, in 2008, it didn't mean as much as it does now. People have offered me a lot of money for that domain this year. They're like, oh, we want to buy your domain. I'm like, it's not really for sale. And I took it back in 2008, again, long before anyone was talking about bone broth. And truthfully, until October of, so basically from there, I went from just a typical growth. I had a 40-quart pot, and then I had a 100-quart pot, and then I got my kettle, and then I got my kitchen certified by the state, and that was around October 2012. I went on the Underground Wellness podcast with Sean Croxton, who I know we're all familiar with as well around here, and that launched the Brothery. Because that was October 2012. I had made an appearance on Fox TV that's still on my YouTube channel about talking about the benefits of bone broth with Krista Orecchio. And just, again, continuing, remember, perseverance. I have this little note on my computer that says perseverance, just persevere through this, Lance. And in the meantime, the classical training, I have my catering business going, and the Flavor Chef is my catering business, and my name, the Flavor Chef. We coined in 2007 as 2008 the Flavor Chef. We trademarked the Brothery, and a little later Love is the Ultimate Spice is also one of my trademarks. We did that in 2008, and then the Broth is Good For You trademark. So kind of just built the business around that and let them come, build it, they will come. And then in January of 2013, we launched the Brothery, which is now bonebroth.com, and we started shipping our product all across the country.
Awesome.
We slowly built up our retail accounts here in San Diego County, now in Orange County, about 30 accounts. We have several stores around the country that are purchasing our broth for resale, mostly within the ground zone. So we have some stores in Albuquerque, Oregon, San Francisco that carry the broth, and LA. So we're moving in that direction. In the meantime, the catering business is flourishing, and we just purchased our 4th kettle. So we're excited, yeah.
All this from following your passion of good healthy food and broth.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the broth movement hit last year, it was a year ago, October. So let's see, that was October of 2014. The New York Times got a hold of this gentleman named Marco Canora, who had this quote unquote revolutionary idea of putting soup in a cup, his bone broth. And they were like basically made the statement that bone broth was going to be drunk by 12 million New Yorkers this winter down in his little window in his 200-quart stock pot coming out of an East Village location. So just the power of marketing is all that goes to say. Sure. And but of course then Oz picked it up, Yahoo, everyone picked it up, and by January of 2015, 1 year ago, it became a national food trend. So we've been growing very quickly this year. We doubled our size, and we're just trying to keep up with demand.
Yeah, you're already set up. I want to back up a little bit because originally you're from my neck of the woods here in Long Island, New York, right?
Absolutely. I got my training. I grew up in Northport, Long Island, and I got my original training in 1988 and in East Hampton, supported Damari. Oh,
sure. Yeah, absolutely. As a kid growing up here on Long Island, we've got some pretty good restaurants here, and of course not too far from New York City. Was that a big part of your life growing up?
That's a great lead-in, man. I grew up, thankfully, my mom, and God rest her soul, she recently passed, but she had grown us up on a garden. We grew up with a garden in our backyard. She was European background, so we had meat and potatoes on the table every night. We had a calling at 6 o'clock for family dinner. We ate eggs and bacon. One of my memorial tribute, I said I thank God for my mom gave me eggs and bacon for breakfast. Not just cornflakes and Crunch and Captain Crunch. So yeah, Whole Foods was in my life. Again, like with Paul Chek, it completely converted over to organic only and eating basically a clean diet. Avoiding processed foods at all costs. Someone was asking me about, something at Carl's Jr. recently, and I said, yeah, it was interesting when Carl's Jr. announced that they have now an all-natural burger, and I thought, geez, what was it before that,
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I haven't eaten one because I don't go there, so.
Sure.
But yeah, growing up on Long Island was big. There's lots of restaurants, and again, even the original cooking was just following my passion. People get gifts from God, and they can sing, dance, draw, lots of different talents people get, and what I got was flavor and taste and palate and ability to just cook. I was a natural behind the stove, and in my first job in 1988, I went from green to a chef in 2 years. They put me in charge of two takeout locations in East Hampton.
Wow.
And about a staff of about 10, and
kind of like getting your black belt in cooking. That sort of.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, they it was unheard of, but in 2 years I went from being a cook, line cook, prep cook, straight through the line to basically a sous chef, and then running the kitchen and running my own staff after 2 years. So.
Mm-hmm. So that was always a part of your life. You said, you really
and growing up, my dad gave me the taste around the grill. We were always grilling in the summer, and of course we had the season, so we had the fall vegetables, we had the winter stuff. We didn't have gardens all year round, but we had, like in the summer at Sapori Damari, we would have all the basil come in 3 weeks, and then we would make, gobs and gobs of pesto for 3 weeks, and then have it for the winter, And really, the Tuscan restaurant I was in was sort of the beginning of the slow food movement in a sense. It was right at the beginning of the slow food movement, and we were doing slow food back then in that restaurant.
Right. And so you kind of had a sense early on that this is what you wanted to do. It sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. It was after college, but we were chatting a little earlier before the show. I got my I joke around, tell people I got my cooking career started on the Grateful Dead tour in the mid '80s, and I was selling hummus sandwiches. And after the show, to get to the next show, and people would come running around the parking lot and tell me how you get the best hummus on tour. I was like, okay, no problem, and just a couple bucks for a sandwich and enough for a ticket and off to Springfield, or where I was going. So still loving those guys. We'll talk about our packaging a little later, and then I moved into, of course, professional cooking after that. So
yeah, I think Mike's honoring that today with his attire.
Absolutely.
I actually thought of Chef. I was like looking through my array of T-shirts this morning, and I was like, this one would be fitting for today. And then after I took a shower this morning, I was like, should I put my hair up? And I'm like, no, I'll leave it down. So
nice.
We're doing long hair hippie tie-dye in honor of Chef's deadheadness today.
Absolutely. Yeah, deadheadness. And, it's interesting. The last year, a couple years ago, I read a book called The 10 Most Important Things I Learned About Business. I learned from the Grateful Dead. And it's by Barry Barnes. We don't want to make this show about the Grateful Dead, but needless to say, there's great information in that book about how to run a business, and the Dead did it accidentally. They didn't really plan to do the accidental capitalist, and I call myself the accidental entrepreneur. But
customer
doing what I'm
loyalty
doing,
and building a following and building a brand and.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly what you guys are doing. One of the chapters is like build a tribe. They literally called it a tribe. You guys call it a tribe, and an alias, the Dancing Bear, on my packaging, because I know I could feed into the tribe at that point as well. And I've had many people tell me, "Oh my gosh," and they start the conversation, and then they're hooked for life. So it works.
I experienced. I think I was maybe 10 years old, and my uncle was a Deadhead and went on tour with them also. And he drove me from Chicago to outside Atlanta, Georgia, to my cousin's house. And he had this leather suitcase thing filled with cassette tapes of shows. Like, I think there was like 110 shows in there. And at 10, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't care. I didn't like it. And I was like, why do you have 100 tapes that are the same thing? And we listened to it non-stop and he'd be like, no, listen to this song on this tape, but then we'll play it on this tape. And I was 10, man. I was like, get this crap off I wasn't having it, and I hated it. And I listened to the Dead from when we left Chicago till we got to Georgia, and then from when we left Georgia till we got back to Chicago, and that's a far ride, man. That's a lot of Dead. And I heard at least 16 versions of the same song at one point. And he was pointing out to me all the intricacies. And this song, they drop the beat here, and it extends here. And I'm like, I hate this. And then I never listened to the Dead again until I was in college. And my freshman year, I went to some party at some stoner hippie guy's house, and this song came on, and I knew all the words. And it was Uncle John's band. And I knew all the words to the song, and I was like, why do I know all the words to this song? This is like the weirdest thing ever. And I'm like, what is this? What is this song? And someone's like, dude, it's the Dead. What is wrong with you? And I was like, oh.
That makes sense now.
So I called my uncle the next day and said, thanks to you, I went to a Dead party last night and actually enjoyed myself. So thank you for force-feeding me all of that music. And then I liked it after that, because every time I heard a song, it was weird. It was like the first time I ever heard it, but I knew all the words.
Nice.
And so it was like a childhood flashback. So I'm kind of partial myself. But yes, and it's okay that we spend 10 minutes talking about the Grateful Dead on a podcast.
Nice. Well, I could talk all day about them, so we'll have to move on to some. We'll have to move back to bone broth here.
And my wife knew that we were talking to you today, and she made me promise that I would bring up the coconut broth that you served at Paleo FX. And
yes.
She said, just talk about the coconut broth. So I just brought it up. So if you want to tell people what coconut broth is.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. We we have several products at the at bonebroth.com and the brothery. We've got the certified organic chicken broth. We have the grass-fed, grass-finished beef broth, and we created a beautiful soup. Our first soup, the coconut ginger broth, which is an infusion of coconut, 80% chicken broth, 20% coconut milk, infused with lemon, mint, and ginger. Now, we had originally developed that recipe for the digestion sessions a few years ago with Sean Croxton, and it's become super popular. We have temporarily removed it from the website because of the demand for the product. We actually just don't have the space to cook the soup every week. So currently, for anyone who gets this podcast, we do have the soup. It's by special request. The second factor is we're working on the label. So each label costs money and graphics and time and energy. And so we have the soup available. We serve it every weekend at our farmers markets. So we're at Leucadia on Sundays, and we're in Vista on Saturdays. Next week we should be in PB and North Park on Tuesday and Thursday. This is all for local San Diegans. And we do serve the broth there, the coconut broth. And it's our most popular. As soon as people taste the broth, they don't want anything else but the coconut
Dude, it's
soup.
so good. I think I hit you up
good.
for like 6 of those at FX. I always kept finding reasons to walk past by Chef's booth, and we'd be on the other end, and Mira would just be like, hey, little coconut broth, maybe? And then we'd head back to Chef's booth again. So,
Paleo FX is a great thing. Last year I got to speak with Kayla Daniel there, the author of this lovely book, Nourishing Broth, which, again, I'll just point it out since we're on a little bit video. Nourishing Broth is an amazing book, came out September of 2014, just before the trend. And, of course, documenting, everyone always asks on the podcast, a good thing, well, how do I make the broth and how do I use the broth? And these are things that our people want to know. And one thing we do is tell them, well, of course, it's a soup base. It's made of broth, which is the base for many soup sauces, stocks, etc. But another important thing is just, you could cook vegetables with it. You could cook grains with it if you eat grains. You could cook beans with it. You could just use it to reheat vegetables. One of my favorite morning things is to just heat up some broth, toss 2 fried eggs in there, lightly cooked, let the broth heat them up, put a little drop of some fresh spinach leaves in there, a little sprinkle of cayenne pepper or some hot sauce. Again, you could add coconut butter, coconut milk, so many different ways to use the broth. But in here, of course, books like this one and another one that just came out, which is amazing. I love this book. Just came out. It's by, I'll show you everyone again. It's by Louise Hay of Hay House, famous Hay House Publishing. And
she made a book on broth?
That's crazy.
She loves bone broth. She's 90 years old, and she is basically telling people, I am so healthy right now she's been eating bone broth for a long time. And
that's interesting, man. I've only seen her work on
spiritual
things and affirmations.
Her book, like Love Heals Your Body or something to this effect, 55 million copies. Anyway, cool story. Louise Hay is going to be drinking my broth next week. She's a local resident here in Carlsbad, and we got her some broth today, and it's going to go out to her on Monday. So we're excited. But yeah, a book like this, again, hundreds and hundreds of recipes in here, how to make many different kinds of bone broth, and the bone broth secret, a culinary adventure in health, beauty, and longevity. And of course, Kellyanne's book, The Bone Broth Diet, is out as well, which is how to help lose weight with bone broth. And anyway, just a few things there. So people, they're calling in, they want all these things. There's so many resources now available on what to do with it. And again, it's simply a soup base. We make broth with the coconut ginger soup. Of course, everyone says it tastes like a Thai tom kha type of preparation. It doesn't have any kefir lime in it, but it does have the mint, and it's in the same family. So you get this beautiful, delicious flavor from the mint and lemon. And if you add a little cayenne or a little chunks of vegetables or whatever, you just basically made your dinner.
When's your cookbook coming out, Chef?
Yeah, that's a long story, man. I got a lot of work to do. I have, I have a lot of competition now in the book range. About a dozen books have come out, and I have a bunch of things to do. It's just time and energy, guys. I don't have a writer.
Right.
I have 2 companies in one. They're both growing incredibly fast right now. And I'm not only the bone broth creator trying to, manage a team, but I'm also out there at farmers markets of the weekend. And you know how it is, just time and energy, man. I wish I had a book out because it would have been super helpful right now. But the broth
No, I was just
capacity,
kidding. Writing a book is quite an endeavor.
Absolutely.
it really is. And if God in this audience has someone who wants to come along and has enough money to infuse it into the brothery, I'd be glad to talk to them and then have a little time where I could hire someone to do what I do so I could write the book. But in the meantime, there's plenty of books out there, man. Pick up Louise Hay's book, Sally Fallon's book. We got Colreath's book, The Bone Broth Miracle. Kelly Ann's book, The Bone Broth Diet. Amazing stuff out there, and it's just amazing what's happening in broth right now. It's just really it's finally everyone's realized and truthfully, again, just for fun, back in 2007 when I got the vision, I wrote a bunch of things down, and I literally have the notes from that conversation, and I knew in that conversation that someday broth was going to be big, and that people would rediscover these healing things, essential oils, mushrooms and various herbs and teas and tinctures that people are using rather than big pharma. Everyone's tired of big pharma killing them. Lower your sugar, increase your fat and your protein intake, and the paleo lifestyle, in a sense, to heal your life. And then of course, we're fighting everything in society. So anyway, I came up with an acronym for the group 2 called BROTH, and broth, blessed return of traditional healing. So that's the broth movement in a nutshell.
It sounds good. You seem to have a spiritual element to everything that you do. Is it something that you grew up with also?
I've definitely had several different paths I followed. The ultimate path led me back to who I was, in the sense, basically earth-based type of spirituality, metaphysical, Paul Chek type things. I currently sort of a devotee of Paramahansa Yogananda, and that kind of self-realization type of thing. But basically accept all paths at this point. If you love God and you believe in you and you trust in the universe, and the big message is to believe in yourself. My mom, they asked me the other day in a podcast, what's one of the most important lessons you could teach, and I said, I think what my mom taught me is be true to yourself, man. Follow your passion. Don't deny yourself who you are. That's religion in itself right there. Loving yourself and then understanding that everything is energy. And so when we say love is the ultimate spice, we're saying, look, we're putting love in the food. We're putting love in the ingredients. We're using Palomar Mountain spring water. We're using Mary's chicken, man. And I brought this up earlier, too. I wanted to tell everyone, I went up to Mary's farm yesterday. We went up to Fresno, drove up to pick up our cattle up there. We got a good deal on it. But meantime, I got over to Pittman's farm. And I tell you, want to talk about a conscious chicken farmer, man. This guy's got 850 employees up there doing his thing. I said he was the top 5 chicken companies. He's in the lower 100 of the size of chicken companies. He's small peanuts. But his family farm, we learned some things about the way they care for the chickens, to feed the chickens, everything from hatch to slaughter is incredibly conscious, which just makes my product even better and more. I'm so excited to meet with them and talk with them about it. So
you're hands-on from beginning to end. You're visiting the farms where you're getting the bones from and everything.
Absolutely. Yesterday was my first visit up to Pittman. We've been dedicated to Mary's Chicken since we started. They're certified organic and higher. And yesterday was just confirmation, man. I didn't get to actually meet with David, but I met with his assistant, toured the plant, and even the process of it's a messy business, animal husbandry and the organic pasturing of the birds. In other words, they're not out of pasture, they're considered free range, which is about the best they could do to be economically feasible. And but the life of the chicken, right to the end, they do a process that costs them more money to ensure that the chicken is somewhat calm and sedated by the time they go through processing. And it's amazing. I mean, like I said, it's a touchy subject for people, but the truth is you do the best you can with what you have. Our grass-fed, grass-finished cows, they have 2 years on pasture, and or somewhere around that range. And then again, those we're getting exciting. We're getting next week bones from a farm in Montana for our beef. And that farm in Montana, I'm going to post a picture of the website. It's unbelievable. It's just like miles and miles and miles and miles of grass. And they have 400 cattle every year. And thankfully they called me because next year I'll get all their bones. And
Nice.
These are probably the happiest cows, some of the happiest cows on the planet, for sure.
Sure. And it makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference.
Absolutely makes a difference. And I'm going to take up a lot of time here, but I'll dovetail into making your own broth because everyone wants to know about that.
Sure.
And we do find that most of the people who buy broth don't want to mess with making broth. It's sort of a messy process. One of the most difficult challenges is getting good bones. So I tell everyone, first of all, if you can make your own broth, take the time, energy. When you're infusing your own energy into the food for you and your family, there's an impact. There's a healthful impact on you and your family. The time, energy, love that goes in there is unreplaceable. Again, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to deal with it. Just buy Lance's broth or buy another bone broth. But secondly, so if you do it, just make sure you source good bones, or that means organic or better, or grass-fed, grass-finished on the beef, or pastured, or whatever the best you can get. And then, of course, simmer with the vegetables. And again, there's lots of recipes out there. Our formula includes a lot of vegetables, which is, again, sets our broth apart from other companies. It costs more to make, but we have a really high mineral content through carrots, celery, onions, ginger, garlic, lemons in our chicken, and pretty much following the formula for the beef. So take your time, use a crock pot, use a stock pot, and make your broth, and just enjoy it.
Well, Chef, we can't tell you how much we appreciate your passion and your dedication to this, and it's contagious. Your enthusiasm for this is absolutely contagious, and we can't thank you enough for everything that you put into this and what you're putting out into the universe. It's phenomenal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll have to come see you at a market, Chef. Is the PB and North Park ones, is that going to be a regular thing, or are you just doing those this week?
Nope, there'll be a regular, hopefully a regular start on this Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make the Tuesday one or not. We actually have a Czech faculty meeting coming to town that we're catering. I'm going to try, if not Thursday, and then of course we're always Saturday and Sunday. I'm always at every Sunday in Leucadia, if you can come up on a Sunday morning. So this Sunday for sure I'll be in Leucadia. If you want coconut ginger, you got to come up and get it, or we'd love to see you in person, but. I think that is, and again, that's a direct-to-consumer model for us, and it's new to the company, but it's working really well, and people love meeting me, and I love sharing the story with people, and just having been there for all these years too. It's kind of interesting. There's so many people jumping in right now, and great for it. I knew all along there's chefs all over the world. I just wanted chefs all over the world to know that the product they're making is good. And hopefully they're using decent quality animals to get it done and get it to people. And I had one conversation with Dr. Tom O'Brien as well, and he was making a statement that broth is good for you pretty much no matter what you do because of the ingredients of the broth. Step beyond that, use organic animals, use fresh spring water, and create a product that's energized. We use the smiley face. I'll get towards the end of this one. This is a totally energetic thing as well. And again, my dad, who also recently passed away, 1981, long before behavioral kinesiology was popular, he got into behavioral kinesiology and muscle testing essentially, and he put up my arm to the right, and he showed me the smiley face, and he pushed my arm down, like strong as an ox. He turned the face over, showed me a sad face, and my arm went down. I could not hold it up. And so the smiley face itself is actually an energetic symbol, a tribute to my dad and some of the work he was doing. He was doing cross-crawling exercises. In 1981, my soccer team went to the state championship in New York, and we won. New York States that year, and our team was thumping our thymus and cross-crawling to get our energy up for each game. And
That's cool, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So anyway, again, a little story for your audience about the smiley face and where that came from. And the broth is good for you was just total inspiration. And and now, of course, for me, it's nice. Like, yeah, it's total validation. You know, you always want to be validated. Well, now I got 100 books out there telling me, hey, broth is good for you. Like, oh yeah, awesome.
Exactly. Well, you could, always feel good about eating broth, particularly when it's something that you've made.
Sure.
There's a lot of layers there, so I know folks can feel good about it for a lot of different reasons. So, Chef, thanks so much for spending the afternoon with us and talking to us.
Sure.
It's always a good time.
Yeah, man,
Great,
and I'll
thank
catch you locally sometime soon, and we'll hang out and play some Dead and drink some broth.
Yeah, and if you ever come
sounds good.
if you ever come back home here to the East Coast, let me know.
Actually, I will let you know, Joe. I thought about that because I'm going to be probably coming back this summer.
Excellent.
And there's definitely a few people I want to hook up with. And are you on Long Island or in Manhattan?
I'm on Long Island. Yeah, I'm on the South Shore. But just south of Northport, your old stomping grounds.
Awesome. Well, we'll be going to Northport for sure. So we'll look you up and grab some coffee or some lunch or some broth or something, and we'll make it happen.
I still want to do some cooking videos, so we'll get those in sometime too.
Yeah, we'll do that too.
As soon as you're ready, man, I'm ready to go on that. That'll be fun, and we don't have to do broth. I would love to do lots of other things that I'm cooking in 28 years of cooking. I got lots of things to share with people.
Yeah, we've got a lot to learn from you, so we look forward to it.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Chef.
Thanks, Chef.
Take care. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you go, Chef Lance Roll. Do you feel better after listening to that? I sure do. I always feel good after talking to Chef Lance, and I look forward to getting together with him soon this summer when he comes back home. So there you go. Find Chef at bonebroth.com, and make sure you visit us at rebelhealthtribe.com. On the next episode, we welcome Magdalena Shalaki. I'm very proud of myself. I just said that correctly, I believe. But Magdalena is, you can find her at hormonesbalance.com. That's another excellent episode. She's got a really interesting story, so you're going to enjoy that. And that's it. We'll talk to you soon.